All right, let's go even deeper on this with CNN national security analyst Juliette Kayyem and former general counsel for the National Security Agency, Glenn Gerstell. Good to see both of you. So, Glenn, let me begin with you. The New York Times just reported that one of Trump's lawyers signed a statement back in June telling the Justice Department that all classified documents had been returned. Yet the search on Monday turned up even more. So CNN has not confirmed this information yet, but what could that potentially mean for the former president and his legal team?
Well, it certainly complicates the picture. It could also indicate that perhaps others, in addition to President Trump, might be in legal peril, because if they assisted him in improperly removing documents from the White House that should have been kept under lock and seal, maybe they too are liable. But certainly the former president, bears responsibility for knowing what documents he took back to Mar-a-Lago. And the statutes that the government has listed in the search warrant, there were 3 specific statutes, as we just heard. None of them refer to classified information. None of them refer to declassification. 2 of them refer generally to safeguarding government documents. The 3rd, the Espionage Act, refers to national defense information. And in theory, even if something was declassified, it still might be national defense information.
So what does that say to you, that there was that exclusion?
Well, I think it's interesting to see what the government didn't cover in the search warrant. They did not put in a statute that specifically refers to classified information. And why is that? I suspect because the Department of Justice, and let's remember this went up to the Attorney General himself, who actually signed off on the search warrant, a very unusual circumstance. They obviously knew that this was potentially explosive, so they wanted to be on rock solid ground. The fact that the search warrant didn't reference classified, a crime relating to classified documents, to me suggests they wanted to rely on statutes that apparently on their face look like they have been violated. They wanted to be on a little more secure ground and not reach inappropriately. And I have to say, on its face, the facts we've heard already present some very troubling news in that regard.
So Juliette, I mean, this set of top secret SCI documents seized by the FBI, under normal circumstances, who would have access to those items and where would they be kept?
Well, they would be kept in essentially what would be a SCIF, a secure compartmentalized room. They would be viewed in that room. Just to give a flavor for it, you're not allowed to bring in your phones or any devices that could capture anything. You go into a room, there's a lock pad, the room sometimes is secure, there's background noise, so just in case a foreign enemy is trying to listen in, there's sort of white noise behind it, just to give a sense of how serious we take this information. And I really just can't stress enough how accurate Glenn's assessment of what is going on here really is. And I think one helpful way to think about it is the classification debate that we're having, as I was just describing, the TS and different levels, top secret, is, I think, about carelessness. It is about a former president who carelessly took the United States important national security secrets and is just like hanging out at his hotel in Florida. We don't know who's there. We know the Chinese have tried to spy there. We know just random public people are there. So that's about carelessness. On the search warrant, that's where you're getting the legal complexity that Glenn is describing, which is we don't care about that carelessness. All we know is there is information that has either been destroyed, kept from us, transferred, publicized in ways that undermine America's national security interests. So there really are 2 different issues. They're related, of course. A careless former president is more likely to destroy, hide, or publicize confidential information.
And Juliette, more on the whole declassification, just for many of us who don't know how it works. I mean, one set of the documents listed as various classified TS or SCI documents, top secret, compartmented information, which is highly classified category of, government secrets. So could the former president have declassified something like that unilaterally himself, and also claim responsibility for being able to move them on his own.
Well, I mean, this is just one of those procedural things that we all have to sort of run around the poll, just answering basic questions. In some theoretical moment, if the president needed to declassify something because he needs something to get out in some emergency, sure. No one actually thinks that almost 2 years that he's out of government, that all of a sudden he's asserting a right about information and boxes of information and photos that he hadn't asserted before. And the tell here of why we know that they think the claim is bogus is because he did at one stage give up information. So in other words, he was asked for some boxes. He gives some, he keeps others, right? So it cannot be that all of a sudden he's making a claim. And I want to be clear here, because I think these classifications can sound like, oh, everything is, everything's classified, doesn't matter. SEI is really serious. I mean, it tends to be, I rarely saw it, because in my role in Homeland Security, I wouldn't need to know certain things. I might need to know that a threat level is higher, or a certain place might be under threat. I don't need to know the name of the person they're going after, or that we have human assets in Afghanistan going after a terrorist. I don't need to know that. And so that's why we have those distinctions. There's information someone like me might need to know as compared to someone who's running the CIA, or of course, a president of the United States.
So Glenn, how solid would it be that the president says, I declassified him, and so there he feels like he has the right to remove it. At the same time, he's also admitting to one of those charges, right? One of those areas of investigation, which is the possession of the government documents.
Exactly.
But again, no formal charges. These are just the areas of the investigation.
No formal charges, but on the face of it, just from what we know now, it certainly looks very difficult. As I said, some of the statutes don't have anything to do with declassification. So even if we were to believe the president's tweet that he just declassified all this information because as the boxes were leaving the White House, he waved his hand over them and said they're all declassified without putting it in writing or specifying which ones they are, or his statement that when he took documents upstairs to the White House residence on the second floor, they were automatically deemed declassified. That doesn't make any, number one, it doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of formality associated with this. But it can't possibly be the case that the president could claim he has the power unilaterally to declassify things. There are some things in statutes, for example, our matters relating to our nuclear weapons program, that the president has no power to declassify. They're just automatically secret forever, and the president can't declassify them. And if he were to say, oh, well, I declassified it, that isn't necessarily going to be a defense to these crimes, which have nothing to do with whether it's classified or declassified. They just involve improperly handling government documents. And let's be clear, this is not taking a stapler from your old employer or a stack of Post-it notes from the Department of Agriculture. We're dealing, as Julia just said, with the nation's most sensitive secrets, and apparently volumes of them. So his only defense is that I was negligent, or it was an accident. And frankly, negligent and accident could still get you in trouble under these statutes.
Right, and the question still has to be asked, and the answer still needs to be given of what was the intent anyway? I mean, why do you need these things? I mean, what's next? Okay, and then and just Glenn, to reiterate, the messaging coming from the former president now is not on Twitter, but it's on his own social media platform.
Sorry,
so he has been
correct.
speaking.
You're correct.
Just for those who are following him still. All right, Glenn Gerstell and Juliette Kayyem, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.